Okay, welcome back. I am going to continue with my Space Invaders game from the previous video. So the last time I did this, I don't have a little book, which is what I'm going to get. Hold on. I've got a piece of paper and I don't have a pen, but that's okay. We'll work it out. So last time we did the Space Invaders game, which we will make magically reappear here. So if you've forgotten this, we've got our little enemies, and I was doing the scripts for it, and there were quite a few bugs in Glitter, which is this IDE for if you're just joining the channel for the very first time. It's an IDE that's sort of like an extended Scratch variant, like Scratch the drag and drop coding tool. But so I had quite a few issues, and they kind of got to the point that I couldn't really continue. But the good thing is I've pretty much fixed most of them and added a useful feature. So we'll have a look at the useful feature first, but we'll just compile it, and you'll see that we now have the aliens, and they're now in their rows, and they've appeared like that. But they are slightly off center. Now beforehand, I have changed the code slightly. So the code for setting everything up was in here. And I had these variables, which was the enemy start X and the enemy start Y. But if you go down here, you've got marks.enemyTopLeft.x. So I mentioned in the last video, also I noticed that there was a mistake, and like they weren't laid out properly, and I was quite confident about repairing that error, and in fact that was very trivial to fix. So now they all work as it has been intended. We'll go through the code again in a while. We don't need that code anymore. We'll make it also so that it just appears in one go and doesn't do the whole gradually filling up. I feel like I should actually use. We'll come back to that in a minute. Well, I'm going to change. Sorry, I put my hands in front of my face all the time. We're going to change how I move. So I had this thing where they were going to move at a set speed that was the number of pixels, but we're not going to do that. We're going to fire an event to move them one pixel at a time, and that event loop will speed up. But you'll see what I mean then. But anyway, let's go back to the marks. I've got to focus on this. This is going to be the terrible channel for actually learning how to use this. But these videos are not proper tutorials, so don't go on to me about them not being a good tutorial. This is just me doing alpha testing, essentially, because I'm pretty close to is good enough to release. It's fine. So the thing that I wanted to talk about is these layout markers. So there's a little cyan circle there. If you click on it, it will say layout marker, and then you can move it. As you may notice, it has a name. I don't know why I have the name part there. That's probably should just be a description or something. But the important thing is this is the name of the variable, and it has some positions and a color. So basically what this is just a point that I can move around on the layout screen, and then I can define where it is, and then I can just refer to it in the code by going marks.enemyTopLeft or whatever the name of your variable is. So they're all like instance variables of this marks object, which is just the way that I would conceive of this. But it's just you could say this is the namespace. These are marks. So there's a variable marks, and every I could have it that these are actually like global variables. You could just go enemyTopLeft.x, and I probably will add that at some point. I was just like, for now, we'll just go with this kind of approach. But anyway, you can go .x, and then you can also go .y, and I think you do that up here. So the current y starts off being the y coordinate and that. And so when I recompile it, you can see that this thing has now started in the top corner. So I think that's a more useful way. And you can add a new little marker. It gives it a random color, but you can change the color to whatever you want. And you can type in 200 or whatever. You can type in things directly, and then you can change the variable other var and that goes there. So there's a big spiel about how it doesn't do refactoring. So if you were to change the name of this variable here to something different, it won't compile because it won't be able to find in the code. It will still say this, but also at some point you'll be able to drag and drop layout markers into actions and things like that. So there'll all be another useful feature for the sort of non-coding use of this tool. So anyway, we're going to go back to one last thing. If you want to delete things, you can click on that and then it's kind of deleted, or you can just click on, you can right mouse click on it and you can go set to delete, and then it will be set to delete. And if you want to bring it back because you did it by accident, just go back to the layout markers and bring it back on there. You may notice there's a sounds list. Spoiler alert, there is now audio, though it's quite simplistic, but it's good enough to use in games. You can't change the volume of the sounds, so you can just play sounds. That's all you can do. You can add samples and then you can play them. All right, so let's go back to our game and see what we've got. So I had this setup wave. We're going to get rid of the print statements because we don't need those anymore. We might want to these are just setting up. I've only got all the cables in front of my keyboard. Setting up variables. And so basically we're going to go row by row, column by column, create an enemy. We'll just put some construct new enemy. So you get that sort of pattern where they sort of gradually appear on the screen because it's not running in turbo mode as it is. So I'd have to, in the current version, put this all in a block, which we can do. We can go block, do setup, and we'll just copy and paste all of this. Do setup, and I'm going to write end of block do setup. This is how I would normally. Why does it say setup there? Oh, that was setup wave. Do. We should probably say do setup wave. Alright, and if we put a little star on it, it will be turbo mode. I should just make that turbo block. So I'll keep the star notation, but I'll probably add in the turbo keyword at some point. Do setup wave. And it's magically just all appears in one go. So anyway, we've now got that. We don't really want. What we might do is we might use this little marker as the. We could just call it. I know it's not the player start position. I don't know the point of. Yeah, I've got a lot of player start. I've got a lot of reservations about having this. It's just a pattern that I've used because Scratch allows variable names that have spaces and things in it, and this Glitter does not allow you to do that. So in parts of it, just to maintain compatibility with the previous version, with Scratch, there's these things, and it doesn't make any sense here because. Right, that's the enemy. We don't want the enemy. We want this thing here. I don't have to put them on. I'm going to make it so that I reset the position of the enemy to the start position. That's just a marker so that I know where it is. All right, so on setup. So we're going to set up the wave. All right. And then we'll go broadcast start game. We'll just see how this goes. All right, and so the player. We'll go to the scripts. So one thing that I want to do is I want to be able to have so down here in the inspector, this inspector thing, I will probably have another tab which will be global variables or something. So you can just quickly go and create a new message, a new broadcast thing, without having to go all the way to the stage at the top and go, I've got start level. What do they use start level for? No, that's one bug. It doesn't automatically. I've only used it once, so that must be the thing that I want. So we'll just go start level. I've already thought this through. It doesn't automatically highlight the text box. So, and also I think the found results don't look quite right. They look like the old style listing. So that's another thing to fix. Well, that's right. That's just me talking to myself so that I know what to fix. All right, scripts. So we'll go on start level. And now we're just going to create code. So while we might add a variable. While this is getting a bit messy. Boolean in game equals false. So when we go down to the scripts here, we're going to say flag in game equals true, broadcast start level. And then my little script here, while in game. And I might just go, you can go stage.ingame just so that you know it's the stage. I'm pretty sure you can do that. It might be a capital S. So again, we'll find out in a second. If key pressed left, I think this works. Again, one thing I really want to have is just so you can have controllers and you can say controller.left, controller.button1. And the controllers are more abstract. So you may have a controller being mapped to certain keys, or you may have the controller actually mapped to an external controller that you've plugged in, or they could be mapped to some sort of touch controls. I don't want to have this specifically saying what you want, because also I want to be able to say, oh, actually I'm left-handed, I want to do the other, or I like using ASW, yeah, you know what I mean. So we'll just go sprite x equals sprite. What we're going to do is and sprite. Is it sprite x? Is that the name of the? Is that the name of the thing? Get mouse x. Mouse, get sprite. It is sprite x. Okay. Alright. I've forgotten the name of these variables. And sprite x is less than marks.top left.x. It's greater than, sorry. Minus player speed. I'm going all out for the variables here. We'll make that a variable here as well. So I have fixed, there was a problem with it working out player speed equals 2. There was a problem with top left. Oh, that's going to be top left too. We'll make that top left. Border marker. Top left. And we'll make that one, I don't know what I want it to be. I want it to be a, I don't really care what color it is. Actually, I should have just stuck with what it was. All right, and then they're all green. Can't have them all green. Well, that one's brown. And this is going to be bottom right. Border marker 2. And I'm just going to use this so that I can control where the players can actually move. And actually I did use that for the bottom right. Okay, so now I have these two markers, and then we can go back to my scripts for my player. So player speed is 2, and it's getting a bit cluttered in here, isn't it? So basically, if the sprite x is greater than the top left x coordinate, so basically that's saying if the player's x position, which is the number that represents where it is along the bottom of the screen. So x over here increase. You can see this if I pick up the oh, interesting, very interesting. We've got one little bug. So it no longer goes back to the sprite details. It does if I click on something that's not the. All right, so you can see when I move the sprite, its x position goes up and its x position goes down when it goes to the left, and the y goes up when you go up, and it goes down when you go to the bottom. So this is just saying if I press the left thing and I haven't got to the left hand side of the screen, then I'm going to reduce the x position of the sprite by a certain amount. And then I'm going to go else, and equals right, and sprite x is less than bottom right dot x. You can't quite see. I don't think we need this much real estate. This is what you get when you use a large font size. Okay, so then we're going to increase. Alright, so let's just see what the game looks like. And it's not working. Key pressed, consume. Does left and right not work? I thought they did. So another bug. So we're getting there. We're getting through the bugs. We're going to go old school. We're going to go AS. So A and D work. So now I've got my little little thing at the bottom, and we're going to have to do that not as an else if. So so we're going to say if key pressed space. I'm pretty sure this works. It used to work. What we might do is bullet temperature. Okay, so the bullet, in order to fire, let's say gun temperature, gun temp. Let's just make it easy. Gun temp equals 0. So we'll re-add that one. Gun temp equals 0. So the point of that is int fire temp equals 20. Gun temp minus equal 1. If you don't know what that means subtract 1 from the temperature, but we might make it equals, just to keep things simple, we will spell it out so that it's obvious. So, and what I'm doing here is I don't want to be able to fire millions of bullets all at once. I want to be able to fire a couple of bullets all at once. Less than or equal to 0. We'll just put that in there. New bullet sprite x sprite y and we are going to go gun temp plus equal fire temp. I don't know why I'm doing a plus equal thing. I kind of, it doesn't really matter. But all right, and now we have to go to our bullet code. So we're just going to quickly do the bullet stuff in a simple form, and then we're going to go back and we're going to make the aliens move backwards and forwards, because I think that's what we're all here to see. So we'll go here and we'll go constructor int. I should just say double, shouldn't I? Double x, double y. All right, go x, y, x. That's not quite right. So we want the bullet to be slightly higher than the spaceship. So we're going to subtract off. We'll just do 10. I don't like writing in explicit numbers in code, but we'll go there. And then we'll do a loop. And then we'll be like, while sprite y is less than, that's correct, because the top left dot y sprite y equals sprite y minus bullet speed, and bullet speed equals 3. That's a bit slow. We'll make it 5. Good thing is this is not creating an actual variable that's going to be used in the actual output code. So if you were to compile this to scratch, you won't see a bullet speed, because bullet speed currently isn't being assigned anything. It's declared up here. So you'll just see in the output code 5. I was a bit worried the last time when I did the last video that I'd mucked up the stuff that works out whether or not a variable belongs in what space. But it turns out I had that correct. I had just made an error in that it didn't quite connect with stage variables properly in a sprite. But doesn't matter. Those are all technical things that don't matter to the people. But somebody who's watching this might actually want to know a little bit about the development process and why things don't work, and also the actual intellectual interest behind these things. So how many? We're going for 22 minutes. Okay. And then we will go delete. I think it's delete. We'll find out if it compiles. Bullet cannot be found. I didn't call it bullet, did I? It's called player bullet. New player bullet. It's a very weird thing to call it a variable. That should really be the class name. And we're gonna go player. I'm gonna call it a P. I'm going to change that to say class name, not variable, because I want to trick people into learning about classes and object-oriented programming. So I made one mistake. What were the 2 mistakes? We'll just compile it again. Sprite variable. So we'll go. That's player bullet. All right, and unknown variable. You see, that would work if I'd actually made it so that the marks were global variables, but they're not. You have to go via the marks things first. So player bullet cannot be found in scope. Sprite variable. Why not? Why does that not work? Because I can't spell the word. Wait, how many L's do you have to have in the word bullet for it to be acceptable? Type int. All right. Oh. Type int is not acceptable. Oh, interesting. I feel like I may have the priorities. I'm going to have to check the official Java priority scheme. So anyway, that was just the problem with that is that it's got these as a higher priority. So it's got the AND operation as a higher priority. So it's saying if the key pressed and gun temp together, which should be a boolean, so true or false, is less than 0, So less than or equal to should be a higher priority than the ampersand. I'm just going to have to check how Java does that. I want it to match Java as much as possible, or JavaScript at least. So anyway, now we can move left or right, and we've still got that little... I shot the wrong way. Oh my gosh. This is what you get when I'm so used over the years to Y being 0 at the top of the screen and going down, and then Y increasing. So it's hard to readjust for me to having Y increasing up the screen. Alright, so meow, and they should disappear when we get to the top. And you should find that we can probably... Oh, that's interesting. I managed to fire off a couple at once. So, I don't know. Like, aren't I firing 2 at once then? Or am I just... It looks like you're firing 2 at once. That looks like... You get 2. Why is it doing that? If I move... So if I stop, then I can fire them all. Let's go back to my player bullet. No, I don't want... I want to go to my... Here. So... If the thing n is less than or equal to 0, well, we'll come back to that. I'm a bit bored and it's getting late. So what we will do is we will now go to here. Oh, we've got this forever. So what I'm going to change that to do... I wonder why it never started moving. Did I not do something on start level? It's got down count. If move right. Oh, we didn't. We had the whole problem with this code not working. That's right. Well, we're not going to use right border anymore. We're going to go marks.rightBorder.x. Else. Top. That wasn't the name of the variable. It's bottom right. Bottom right. Side hit. Alright. We're just going to check this. This is not how I want it to work. So why does nothing ever happen? Why do they not move? What is speed? On setup wave, delete. That's right. So then I'm constructing it. Down count. What? Why do they not move? Move right. This is hard because there's an awful lot of these. There's a lot of printing going on here. Print, move left. It says move right, but nothing is moving. So why did I go plus equals minus speed? Why did I not say minus equals speed? Pretty sure that actually does work. What is the value of speed? Speed 2. Well, they aren't moving, are they? Something is wrong. Now it says move left. And I can't move my little spaceship. And then it says move right. So it feels like the code is actually working. But you never see it actually move. But why? To be honest, I don't actually know. So, show. Well, I may have to end the video here because I actually don't know why you can't see it moving. But let's just try a test. Wait, repeat 100. Go to, what's the name of the command? Go to random. Go random. That's a good name of the command. Go random. So I want to see everything. So they all jump around. But then the start level code doesn't work. So what if I just took all of this code? So we're debugging things here. We're going to put that there. And we're going to get rid of the go random stuff. So we've got them bouncing backwards and forwards, but they don't bounce backwards and forwards in the start level. And it's kind of very precise. We'll just have to cheat and move that a bit over there. And now they go backwards and forwards. Way too fast. But they don't work the way they are supposed to. So why does it not show up? What if I just go random here? So for some reason, the broadcast code does not make it move. That should have stuffed everything up. Forever, go random. Print, move this. What's it called? It's called my index. What we're going to do is we're going to make block do movement. And that's going to do this code only. This is an exciting project when you, every time you try it, there's always like some catastrophic error that you've never seen before. Like I haven't seen, like, I can't understand why this doesn't work because all my previous things, so we could go do movement, forever do movement, but we're going to comment that out for a second and make a terribly inefficient loop, and we'll just go like that. Nothing happens, and oh, look at that, it just says enemy move 0. Well, you can see what's happening here. Alright, I think that's a catastrophic failure, but I think we've worked out what the problem is. For some reason, the clones are not receiving the event. And that what you are seeing is the invisible, maybe we can actually show this. Did I make that is visible true? So on the scripts, is there something else? On setup wave, delete and hide. If we don't hide that little one sprite, you'll see that it's jumping around. So the problem is that only the original sprite is getting this message and not the clones. And that's a pain because I double checked that all before. But we're going to leave it again there. for a short video, because we managed to get most of the way through this, but then we come across a catastrophic bug. It's a catastrophic bug that will be quite relatively easy to fix. But this is exactly what these videos are about. It's finding out why these things happen. And it's so infuriating because there's so much work gone into this project. And then you're like, and it doesn't do that. It doesn't do the events aren't handled properly. They were handled properly at a previous point. So I've just made some silly mistake and now they are not. But it's interesting, right? Because this constructor infrastructure is built off an event being handled by a clone. So the basic infrastructure is definitely there, because otherwise the constructor part would never have worked. Well, maybe there's something to do with the start level. You know why it is? I don't think it's that problem at all. This is an interesting issue. So what I think is the issue is broadcast setup wave. I think what is happening is that I am broadcasting start level. So there isn't a bug with the code with my thing. What I think it is that you broadcast setup wave, but broadcast doesn't actually, the setup wave hasn't finished yet. And I'm kind of wondering, like, why do I actually have to broadcast? Oh, I have to broadcast setup wave to delete the old spurious clones. So what I will do is I will add these 3 extra dots, and what that means is setup wave and wait. So maybe I should broadcast and wait, or wait broadcast or something. Right. Sorry, I'm yawning. The reason that sometimes I've gone with like a star or some dots to do some functionality is just because deep down I'm trying to make it language neutral. But I think actually now, and I'm so confident, I'm so absolutely confident I can go back, and I have already done it, that, well, they're all going to be running around. So there you go. So the problem was, I haven't made an error with my code. The problem was you broadcast setup wave, but that doesn't actually finish. So it hasn't actually created all of the enemies yet. So this goes off in broadcast start level. By the time you actually do this broadcast start level, this is broadcasting start level to the currently existing objects, which include one enemy, because the other enemies are being set up concurrently with this. And because of the way that the multitasking or the task switching works, this code will set up a broadcast that everything else will do, but it hasn't actually started yet. So the other objects, the other things that are all these on setup waves do not happen until you've got past the sort of atomic level code that's going to be done, and the atomic level code doesn't finish until the end of the broadcast start level. So I think that's why we've got that. So now we can go back through here, and then we can very nicely, instead of saying, we can get rid of this, we'll just say do movement. Alright, I'm going to hit that, and then I can go like that, and they actually do bounce kind of backwards and forwards correctly. I think there was a slight weirdness there, and we can get rid of all the mountains of text that it's printing out. So if down count, alright, so what I want to do, down count equals true. Alright. Whee! That was not quite what I wanted. On-side hit. While down count is greater than 0. Don't forget that closing bracket. Okay. down count equals down count. So at some point there will be down count minus minus and down count plus plus. But it's not there yet, so don't ask. It's just, you've got to get this thing to work and be presentable to the world. So what I'm doing is I'm going to set the down count to 2, and then over a period of whatever number frames, down count is going to be greater than 0. And while down count is greater than 0, I think the script, that should be an else. I don't want it to actually be moving at the same time. I don't want it to be moving left and right. But anyway, we're going to change this code in a second. And so I don't actually want to do, this in a loop within, so I don't want this kind of stuff. What I want to happen is on move enemies to movement. Alright, and my speed should be quite slow, I think. How am I going to do this? Dun, 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 dun. Actually, we might have them moving quite fast. So, yeah. On move enemies. So on the start level, we don't do anything. Just get rid of that for now. And then we're going to have move enemies. And so we have to go back here and we have to make a new message. We're getting there. Message move enemies. Alright. And then broadcast start level. We could actually do I think a lot of this we could do without the broadcasting. It could just all be in on start level. Okay, so we'll just jump in with a variable int speed equals, movement time, movement delay equals 0. Okay, movement delay equals 10. And then we're going to go while in game. Remember that variable that I made. We're going to say repeat movement delay. I'm going to go wait 0. And then I'm going to go broad. What's the name of the message? The name of the message is move enemies. This is when you kind of be like, you know what I really would like? I would like, well, broadcasting wait. I would like a delay frames. I kind of like, is there already a delay frames? So a delay frames, and the nice thing about delay frames, this is what I'm going to add in next time. So I'm going to write this down on a piece of paper without having a pen. And I know what people are saying is like, you're on a computer, you could literally type it in. But I like doing it the old school way. So wait frames. I wouldn't be too surprised if it's already in there. So what I would rather do is I want to say, so what I'm trying to get at is wait frames movement delay. So I'm going to wait 10 frames before I tell all the enemies to move. And as there are less enemies, the movement delay will get down until there's only one, until it gets down to 1. And then they're going to be zipping across the screen. So as an enemy gets destroyed, the movement delay is going to... but I don't think there is a wait frames command, so we won't do that. there is going to be, so what I'm doing is I'm repeating in a loop and I'm waiting 0, which is the same thing as saying yield. And the problem is, like, you can write yield, and that just means that it goes through 10 different frames in this loop. But yield is a keyword that means something different in other languages. So I'm trying to like come up with a term that I feel comfortable with, that I haven't yet. So I want to use the word yield, or it has to be like one word. It has to be like give way or something, or pass. I think it was going to be pass is what I was going to say, but then pass is also used in like Python as just an empty space holder, because Python's parser is weird. So we'll come back to that. So we're going to use wait 0, which is kind of roughly the same thing. It's going to wait for 0 seconds, and then we're going to broadcast that. So we'll just see what happens. Are they moving? I forgot the most important thing of all. Well, no, it should automatically do that. While in games. Print. Moving. Oh, weird. While in game. About to do movement delay. Blueprint bit. That never ever happens. Why? On start level. Print. Doing start level. Doing start level and stage. Finished. Finished. Start level and stage. Oh my gosh, why? Why does in-game while in-game, that's true. Ooh, what if I've made an error again? So when this happens, there's only one way to fix this, and that's to make this an app variable. Nope, that didn't change anything. That's good. So why does the while loop fail? I don't know. While true. Well, we've kind of got the behavior that we wanted. I don't know why. As it says it's true. It's the same thing. And hold on. Let's just check the last thing. This is a disconcerting. We do have a catastrophic error. Yay. Finished and true. So why does the while loop not actually happen? Repeat until not in game. Does that work? No. That's interesting. That's very interesting. So maybe I should call it quits. No, well, we'll come back to that. So we've got a serious catastrophic error, and something to do with why the while loop doesn't work. So let me write that down. While repeat loop not understanding conditional. All right, what we could do is something horrendous, just out of interest, because I feel like this doesn't make any sense. Because I've done this exact code. What if I take away the repeat loop? As stupid as that sounds. Finished. What if I take away all of the code? Nope, that still doesn't change anything. I didn't take away all the code. I forgot to comment. Oh, I did. I just can't see the side of the border. Wait. About to do movement delay. Okay, so all of that code works. So the while loop works while in-game equals true. That doesn't help. While movement delay is greater than 0. So I know that's to be true. So that works. So, oh my gosh, why does in-game have a problem? What if we made in-game to be true? I think there might be a problem here. I think I might understand what's going on. Nope, that didn't change anything. So, but that doesn't make sense because oh my gosh, this is the problem. Yeah, we're going to have to make this automatically disappear or something at some point. I do the in-game stuff down here, don't I? Or in the player. This is constructor, player bullet. Yeah. This is literally while stage in-game. So because I've called it, that can't, like this code, does this code work? I've just noticed that this code no longer does work. I can't actually move. So, whereas if I go like that, I can move. Alright, so it stopped working over here, even though it did work before. In-game. Well, in-game. Nope. There has to be a trick. What is going wrong here? Why does this not work? Because the other Boolean variable works. What if well, if I take that away, actually, then it will work fine. Yeah. So if I take away that command, then the in-game variable is no longer an app variable. But that's not what I want to do. Oh, it works. It works now. What is going on? How does this happen? Okay, I broadcast the setup wave, and then I don't do it, and the in-game becomes true. And then I start the level. Alright, well, we'll come back to that. We'll just leave it out for that. So there's something going on there. I'll come and work it out. So when we go... Now we have to do the bullet stuff. So there's multiple enemies. So we have to do this from the context of... so do movement. We will say, interesting. This is going to be a bit tricky, I think. So this is the problem with Scratch, and it's a thing that I want to add in to fix things. But we'll have to go, okay, if touching, what is the name of the command? And I haven't added it in, so that's nice. If touching sprite. Player, what are we? We're looking at the enemies. Player bullet. then we will delete. I die. But we're going to, we'll just see what happens when we do that. Function touching, if touching. Yeah, so that's a bit weird. And not quite what I was expecting, to be honest. Interesting, but not at all what I wanted. It does that. Oh my gosh, so much for the bullet shooting thing. So wow, what has gone wrong? Because this code worked a minute ago and now it doesn't. So I think we've found enough bugs. We've got 2 serious bugs that I think are probably linked. So why does this Boolean here not evaluate? Because it should say is pressed, but the gun temperature. Alright, we'll just, before I do that, I'm going to say, I'm going to print gun temp. And then I'm going to shoot. Gun temperature is minus some ridiculously high number. How did that happen? How on earth is that a thing? Alright, well maybe we should have... How could that possibly ever happen? Oh, because the gun temperature equals... I can see why. Okay. If gun temp is greater than 0, else. Alright, let's just change this around. So we had a problem, and that problem was that, okay, is that I was decreasing the gun temperature even when it was already at 0. So that explains all of the errors we had. So now it should... We can only fire 1. So we've got that thing working, though for some reason the collision detection is abysmal. So let's just go back to our costumes and have a look at the collision. So the collider is quite big, and the player bullet has like literally no colliders. No, it has these 2 red ones. Well, we'll just add a little point at the very top, and we'll add a point. Where's the other point? It's getting a bit hard to select these things. So we've got how many points? Interesting. We've got 2 points. Alright, does that help the detection? No. Oh my gosh. Why? What we will do is, that's a bit of a shame. It's been a while since I've checked whether or not the collision detection really works. We will go here and we will say if touching enemy 1. I think that's what that sprite's actually called. Variable enemy 1. Okay. If touching enemy 1, then what will we do? Delete. So the bullet doesn't actually collide with. What is going on? Well, we can get through there, but for some reason it thinks that's... So, okay, we've got another problem. The collision detection is off by a mile. But I'm going to, before we do that, we're going to wait. I just realized something. I don't actually have to... Oh my gosh. Over here in the script, we don't have to we don't have to use delay in frames. We can say the delay is 0.03. What were you thinking? Stop thinking in terms of frames. Start thinking in terms of time. So we're going to go wait movement delay. So we'll just wait that in times. Forget about what frames are. That's a terrible way of thinking. So now they're moving like that at 0.3 of a second. And then we're going to just... It almost worked. So, oh my gosh. I can see why it's not going to work. So the problem that I have right. Interesting. So the thing is, because Scratch doesn't allow you to actually detect what you've hit exactly. Like, you can tell that you hit an enemy one, but I don't know which one of those clones was the enemy one. I don't have a reference to it as you would in other languages. So later on there will be a collides, and then you'll probably something like enemy one. Actually, it will probably look like this: enemy 1 E, because that's what you're matching it with. And then you'll be able to say E dot sprite X or whatever, or E dot this hit bullet. Right, I'll have a reference to the particular clone which will be stored in the variable E, and then I will be able to call things on that particular clone. So it will have a block called hit bullet, and when I do this, the bullet will be calling the hit bullet thing to tell that clone that it was hit by a bullet. So there won't be... So in order to do it the way it is now, I have to... The bullet has to detect whether or not I hit an enemy, and the enemy has to detect that they hit a bullet. But I have to wait a bit before I delete myself, because otherwise... So the other problem is, so we have to do the same thing here. If touching, we'll wait for half a second. Wait 0.1. So that gives both things time to register that they hit each other. Yeah, of course that doesn't work because I haven't implemented it yet. But that means I have to do two sets of collision detection. One, but I'm waiting so that they both have time to detect that they've touched each other. So hopefully that didn't work. So, it does work now. And that one works. And then that one doesn't work. But we're going to get there. So the two-way collisions obviously don't match up. So what the enemy thinks is a collision with the bullet is different to what the bullet thinks is a collision with the enemy. So we'll leave it at there. It's been an hour. We've got some interesting things for me to go over the next week and come back and get it to work. So we're getting there. So this is what this is all about. It's going through and working out what works, what stops working, what do I not understand. Like, I think, I'm falling for that problem with back down here, this code here, right? So this is something I guess will trip anybody up who is doing this and hasn't done it before. So my thoughts are, is there an easier way to emphasize that this is what needs to be done? Should broadcast be broadcast and wait by default? And if you want to broadcast and not wait, that should be the non thing. Maybe maybe broadcast, this is broadcast, and then do some more stuff straight away. So I'm saying ... but that doesn't really make any sense. So again, before a final version, I have to think those things through. Thanks for watching. We'll come back to this in the future. So bye for now.